is, as black people, we have allowed the Democratic Party, the liberal media, and sometimes our churches and our pastors to tell us that the word of a white man, the word of white people, the actions of white people determine our destiny, that we can do nothing in and of ourselves. And that's the problem I have with critical race theory. That's the problem I have with all these things that these race hustlers are looking to push. They elevate the words and the actions of white people above any and everything else. That is white supremacy. So who cares what Joe Rogan used 10 years ago? It has no impact on your life. First, I want to thank everybody that has subscribed, liked, commented. I appreciate everything that you've said. No matter what you've said, I appreciate the likes. Please share this with your friends. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you hit that share button. We're trying to make sure that everybody know that they're not victims, that they're empowered for greatness, that we can make a difference again in this nation. That we can stand up for biblical values, we can stand up for truth and push back against all the lies and everything that's false that's taking place in this land. So I appreciate that. And please, thank you for looking at my videos and participating and making our voice known.
Hello, friends. I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years, but for a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing. Like that context was part of the clip we were talking about Red Fox, how Red Fox said that word on television in the 1970s, and how times have changed so much since then. Or about how Richard Pryor used it as one of the titles of one of his albums. Or I was quoting a Lenny Bruce bit, or I was quoting a Paul Mooney bit, or I was talking about how Quentin Tarantino used it repeatedly in Pulp Fiction, or I was talking about how a Netflix executive, ironically, used it because he was trying to compare it to another offensive word, and he said it out loud, and they fired him. Not calling anybody or just saying the word out loud. I was also talking about how there's not another word like it in the entire English language, because it's a word where only one group of people is allowed to use it, and they can use it in so many different ways. Like if a white person says that word, it's racist and toxic, but a black person can use it and it could be a punchline, it could be a term of endearment, it could be lyrics to a rap song, it could be a positive affirmation. It's a very unusual word, but it's not my word to use.
So obviously, if you've been paying attention to the news, Joe Rogan has been the hot topic lately. It started when he was interviewing various doctors like Dr. Robert Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough. As a matter of fact, one of my videos with Dr. Robert Malone was actually taken off of YouTube. So if you guys had a chance to take a peek at that before it went off, I hope you enjoyed that. But Joe Rogan is in the news because there were some old clips of him using the N-word back in the day, maybe 10 something years ago, over a decade ago. And people are all up in arms. People are all upset with Spotify, wanting to cancel Joe Rogan. They want their pound of flesh. They want that atonement. They want that sin of atonement paid for by Joe Rogan being taken off the air. But what is really going on is that The powers that be, the elite, the Democrats, and the liberal media want to silence anybody that speaks out against their narrative, anybody that they see as a threat to their main goal of control of the entire human population. And they use race and race hustlers to accomplish this because they know they can distract people by using the card of race. And to any of my black brothers and sisters that get offended or that were offended by what Joe Rogan said 10 years ago, we need to look in the mirror. We need to stop being so weak-minded and stop elevating the words of white men and white people to the point that their words supersede the word of God. You know, the Bible talks about out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if Joe Rogan was saying those things 10 something years ago, who cares? Those things came out of his heart. But that should not affect how you see yourself. And the problem is, as black people, we have allowed the Democratic Party, the liberal media, and sometimes our churches and our pastors to tell us that the word of a white man, the word of white people, the actions of white people determine our destiny, that we can do nothing in and of ourselves. And that's the problem I have with critical race theory. That's the problem I have with all these things that these race hustlers are looking to push. They elevate the words and the actions of white people above any and everything else. That is white supremacy. So who cares what Joe Rogan used 10 years ago? It has no impact on your life. It should not have any impact on your life. You should not be so up in arms about it. You want to know why people are up in arms about it? It's because the media has convinced them to get upset. They play this outrage footage. I call it the crack. It's outrage footage is the crack that race hustlers use to keep black people and keep others' attention. It's the crack.
Like, if something would have happened to him, it would have broke me. And so for me, I got to do a better job of educating him, and I got to protect him because I wouldn't know how to live if he wouldn't have made it out. And so thank you for everybody that reached out to me. And like, I know it's getting better, but it's not better yet, and better for everybody. And you know, like, we just got to keep, staying together, man, and just doing what we can.
It is the crack. I've mentioned that before. It is the crack that they use, and they pull it out just to keep black people in line. They pull it out to show, hey, America is still racist. You see what Joe Rogan said 10 years ago? Oh, you see what happened? This young boy who was shot by the police. Never mind all the black bodies that have been killed by other black children. Never mind all the babies that have been aborted by black women. Never mind this self-sterilization that's taking place with these shots. Never mind all that. No, Joe Rogan said the N-word 10 years ago, and we gotta be upset about that. We gotta be hot about that. Man, I can't believe Joe Rogan said that 10 years ago. Who cares what he said 10 years ago? But the problem is, they're doing this because they want to control us. They want us to be victims. We are not victims. We are empowered for greatness. But unfortunately, not too many people are heeding that message. They're being duped, hoodwinked, as Malcolm X said, bamboozled by the media and by the Democratic Party, who's using this bait and switch tactic to a T. They're using it to a T. They're using it to distract from their policies that they know will not benefit black people. They're using it to distract from things that they're doing that they know will not benefit black people. But they know black people are emotional and can be manipulated through their emotions. So all you gotta do is throw up something that Joe Rogan said 10 years ago and have India Ari and other people say, I'm leaving Spotify because of that. And all black people get all upset. It's all front page on the grill. Please. You can go somewhere else with that. If we are that mentally weak, Lord help us. What happened to the black people that withstood, it's Black History Month, right? Even though Black history is American history. What happened to the black people that withstood dogs, fire hoses, and kept marching? What about, people love to talk about John Lewis. You know, John Lewis was almost killed on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, right? On Bloody Sunday. You understand that, right? But no, not today. No. These people couldn't deal with Bull Connor. They couldn't deal with the things that our forefathers dealt with. And they talk about the ancestors? Please, man. These folks don't have any idea of the way our parents and grandparents were mentally strong and thrived nonetheless in the midst of true segregation. But instead, we want to co-opt a word that was meant to degrade us and say that we own it. And that goes back to what I said. We elevate the words of white people and white men to the point that it dictates everything that we do. I reject that, man. I'm not a victim. I am empowered for greatness. I have a greater one living inside of me. No man can shape my destiny. My destiny is shaped and formed by my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. My identity is in Him, okay? It's not in my skin color. It is in Him. So no, I reject that mentality that I'm supposed to get upset because Joe Rogan used the N-word 10 years ago. That some white person used the N-word yesterday. Please, that words don't affect me at all. Period. And we need to have that same mentality because we are not victims. We are not victims. We are empowered for greatness. And once we realize that, we'll stop being played as fools by the media and by the Democratic Party. But until then, they will continue to use this race card. Until then, they will continue to play us like that. But we are not victims. We are not victims. We are empowered for greatness. Thank you so much for liking and your comments and subscribing to the channel. Please share this with your friends. Smash that like button. Smash the subscription bell. Share this with everybody you know. We're trying to make sure people understand that they're not victims, that they are empowered for greatness, and all this stuff that's out here that's telling them otherwise is false and will not benefit them in the end. So please, I appreciate that. Share that.